Well, one rapper activist contends these riots could be the best thing to happen to Black America, and he'd rather see, quote, the ugly truth than a beautiful lie. David Banner tweeting, "Why do you wish someone else was in office? Is it so the snake can go back into the grass? No. Let it show its head so we can deal with it." David Banner joins me now. David, welcome to you, sir.
Hi, how are you doing?
It's been a week.
Yeah. Well, it's been about 400 or 500 years for Black folks. So.
Let's talk about you. Let's talk about what your message this week, that you said you are glad this has happened. The mask has been ripped off.
I didn't say that I was glad that this has happened. My comments were about Trump.
But let's talk about that.
It wasn't about Charlottesville, so let's be clear. The thing is this, let's be honest. When Mike Brown got killed and I was in the same exact room talking to you all, I would say the same exact thing that I've said then, that I said before, that Malcolm, that Martin said. The funny thing is, when it comes to Black people, America acts like it's something new every time. Whether it's a cop killing an innocent Black man, or it's alt-right running their cars through a group of innocent people, it's the same thing for us. So I don't understand why America acts so surprised. You know, so for me, one thing that Trump was able to do was to show the world that this post-racial America that liberal white people were trying to talk about, it doesn't exist, and Black people have been saying this.
No, I'm listening to you. And by the way, let me just go on the record and say, of course, I wouldn't infer that you thought the death of Heather Heyer was a good thing. I just think the fact that the mask has been ripped off, to your point, that we're having this conversation out loud, you know, and I don't know if you were listening to my conversation a second ago with the guy from the North Carolina Sons of the Confederacy, and you know, trying to hear all the perspectives on these Confederate statues and monuments. How do you see it? Because you have the Nancy Pelosi's and the Cory Bookers saying, take them all down, right?
I agree.
Then you have Chuck Schumer, who's essentially, I'm paraphrasing, who's saying, you know, hang on a second, this is a distraction by the president and by Steve Bannon for the handling of Charlottesville, and you know, not delivering a full-throated condemnation of these white supremacists.
What the amazing thing to me is this: the Confederate Army lost. They literally lost. So for me, you actually said it. Germany is a great example of what you do if you are really sorry for what happened. Right. If they lost, you shouldn't care, because really their symbols not only make Black people feel that way, they should make you feel that way. But since America won, it doesn't have the same feeling as slavery and the things that Black people still go through in the South. Because the 2010 census said the largest conglomerate or the largest synthesis of Black people are in the South. So we have to deal with what people say is an opinion, or it's not that bad. It's similar to me arguing with you about pregnancy. What can anybody from the alt-right tell me about how the Confederate flag makes me feel, or those statues make me feel?
Which was the point I was trying to make earlier with the gentleman from North Carolina about the feelings. I understand there are the facts, but it's the feelings, and I can't crawl into your skin, David, and know how you feel. Do you feel, though, with the firing of Steve Bannon, do you feel better?
No, I listen, let me say, I didn't feel better when Obama was elected president, because it doesn't change for Black people in the hood. It does not change. It doesn't matter whether it's the alt-right or, like I said, Black men and women, whether it's Mike Brown, Freddie Gray. It doesn't matter whether it's Tamir Rice. Black people are dying, and Black people, white supremacy is affecting us regardless of who it comes from. So what I'm saying is, what I think should happen is this. It's what you all do. As supposed good white people. You see what Germany did. Why do you even care what the people from the Confederate feel? They lost the war. It should come down. Because if you really care about history, what about the Native American history? What about the African history? Everywhere that white men have conquered anybody on this earth, They have literally almost totally decimated their culture. So why all of a sudden, because it's other white men, they care about the history? When you think about it, think about public flags. Public flags are supposed to be a conglomerate effort of everybody in that state. So as a Mississippian, and knowing how many black people stay in Mississippi, that does not represent me or my culture. That means death and slavery to me. And just like most things in America, if it's something that's important to a white man, it will be considered.
David, I appreciate your passion, and to the point that has been made before, this is about where America is today, not about where America was back then.
Right.
David Banner.
Can I ask you one question before you leave? Isn't it sad that as a black man, we are still arguing about the same things that my grandparents were complaining about? If something happened to a dog, or think about the police force. When we were talking about innocent black people being murdered in America, they were passing laws to protect policemen, when statistics show that being a policeman isn't even the 15th most dangerous occupation anymore. What about us? What about laws? If you really want to change it, pass laws that will make people afraid to do terrorist acts and call terrorists terrorists even if they're white men.
David Banner, I don't know if that was a question, but it was a powerful statement, and I can't even imagine what some of that feels like, just being real with you. David Banner, thank you.